Chasing a yak, chasing a yak, chasing a yak. Run, yak, run, 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 run. Me chasing a yak. Well, good morning from Xining, China, up in Qinghai province in the north, well, in the west-northwest of China. So today's going to be a little bit of an adventure for me. I am driving out and around Qinghai Lake. My wife, has a business trip out here, so I decided to come along with her. And today she's doing like a car thing with Toyota, so she'll be doing some sort of like adventure at Qinghai Lake, and I can't go with her because of insurance purposes. So instead, we rented a car and I'm driving out. I'm going to do circumnavigate Qinghai Lake, which is about 400 kilometers in circumference, and see some wildlife, some sheep, some birds, and other cool stuff. So right now, yeah, I just headed out from Xining, which is the capital of Qinghai province. So like Qinghai province is, if you look at a map of China, it's excuse me, sort of in the middle, northwest side, near Xinjiang, and Qinghai is mostly on the Tibetan plateau. So right now I'm at about 2,000, maybe 2,500 meters. For Americans, that's about what, 6,000 feet or so. Yeah, around 6,000 feet altitude, and I'm going to be going up onto the Tibetan plateau, which of course eventually leads to the Himalayan mountains. So this area of China for the last 2,000 years has been part of the sort of the tail end of the Silk Road. So travelers taking the overland route from Europe and the Middle East would come up through Xinjiang, and when they got to the Empire of the Han Chinese, this would be sort of their entryway. So this has been a crossroads in China for centuries. Qinghai Lake is a beautiful high altitude lake. I've wanted to see it for many years, so today you're going to get to see it with me, and we'll see how the trip goes. So one of the interesting things about this trip for me is it's my first solo driving trip in China. I've taken a lot of trips where I drive the car up into the mountains, out into really sort of rural areas where not a lot of foreigners go. But I'm usually with my wife at least, and usually like a big group of friends who are all Chinese, or at least mostly Chinese. And, you know, so I'm not on my own, but here in this situation, I'm totally on my own. So already, just stopped at a toll booth, and I didn't bring small money with me. I just had a couple 200 kwai bills, and I handed him 100 kwai, and he was kind of like, "Oh, do you have smaller change?" Mayo. And he's like, "Oh, need a dollar and ting hao." Like, your Chinese sounds so good. It was just funny because, again, he's a little bit taken aback to see a foreigner in the first place, a foreigner driving a car by himself. So this should be an interesting trip, because everywhere I go, people are going to be like, "Oh, I go why go the foreigner." So should be interesting. So yeah, I've left Xining. It's about 10 in the morning, going through the mountains here, getting up into really into the plateau, and it should be about an hour or so before I get my first look at Qinghai Lake, and I'll take some video and take some pictures. So here I am, not at Qinghai Lake, but at a reservoir near the lake. Trying to decide whether I want to take this little provincial road off to the left up here, get a good close look at the lake. I think I'm going to do it. See what happens. Can't hurt. It's a little bit of a cloudy day. It's not as blue sky as I'd like to see, but we'll see how the day goes. Let's give you a sense of the scenery here. So the provincial road turned out to be a good choice, although it was scaring me a little bit at first. The area was really sort of rural, passed through a couple of little villages. Didn't really look that good. I was kind of a little disappointed at this point, a little nervous about how good this was going to be if my expectations were a bit too high, but the scenery was certainly nice, and saw a lot of goats and cows. So, there was that. So it was a good idea to take the provincial road. This is my first look at the lake. Got a long day ahead of me, so I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to head on, but quite beautiful. You got some desert over there and then some grassland over here. Pretty cool stuff. Chasing a yak, chasing a yak, chasing a yak, run yak, run, 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 run. Me chasing a yak. Well, it's about noon, and I've made it off the provincial road, so I'm about maybe a quarter or a third of the way through my journey. I'm back here on the main road. What's kind of interesting is behind me, you should be able to see some pretty big storm clouds. I drove through that rainstorm. Seems like the rainstorm's up in the mountains, and then if we turn this way, down towards the, you can see sunny skies there, and the lake is down that way. So again, you got this really nasty looking thunderstorm right behind me here, and then just beautiful blue skies. So the lake's down this way. It's a beautiful drive, some flat plains, some mountains. I'm seeing a lot of cool birds, but I haven't really got a chance to take any pictures of them. So hopefully I'll get some shots that I can share with you as we go. So it's about 1:15. Found a little spot for lunch in a small little town here. It's gonna get some noodles. Try the local noodles, as always. Kind of a neat little town. Looks like the Muslim minority, pretty much, and Tibetan folks live in this town. So. Cool place, as I suspected. I got out of the car, but he's like, whoa. So, there you go. I'll upload a picture of my noodles in a minute. As promised, my lunch of noodles. Just a quick little look at this town. I was surprised because a lot of the towns I passed through, the last 2 towns I passed through, I didn't see anything resembling a restaurant. Now, my reading ability of Chinese is pretty shit, but I know a restaurant when I see one, and I passed through like 2 towns this size. They're much more industrial, but like not a single restaurant. And then here, it's obviously a restaurant, so easy to stop and grab a quick bite to eat. Now I'm gonna head on the road, get back down to the lake. Just another quick pit stop on the road. This is a nice view behind me of Qinghai Lake. I'm now at the western edge of the lake. Hopefully you can see it there because it's so sunny I can't see. And I'm gonna make a decision on whether I want to go to Bird Island, whether it's worth the time and the tian money to head down there. Just give you a quick 360 of where I am. Quite beautiful. The lake is very blue. Weather is just great. Storm clouds that were here earlier have disappeared. So yeah, we'll see what we decide to do. So the sorry, you can't really see me too well behind the steering wheel, but such is life. So the land here is beautiful. It's very flat, as you can see in some of the pictures that I've taken, with the mountains rising up maybe, you know, anywhere from a few kilometers from the lake to 10 or 15 kilometers away. Cruising along the western edge right now, heading out towards Bird Island. The folks here are herding animals. You know, I've shown a lot of pictures of animals, goats, yaks, chasing a yak, chasing a yak, chasing a yak, run yak, run, 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 run. Sheep. Oh my God, sheep, 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 so many sheep. Cows, a lot of guys on horseback, pretty cool. There's all these little Tibetan hotels, like where you stay in a little tent. And I'm sure it's very beautiful. I think that's kind of what I'm in for tonight when I meet up with my wife at the end of the afternoon. But you know, there's a lot. I pulled in. I was going to pull up right to the lake and park, but you know, there's like a beach, but not really a beach, and they're gonna, who knows how much they're going to charge. And I figured to look at it for 5 minutes, it wasn't worth it. I'm going to get good view from here anyway, which I've provided some nice pictures of. But you know, one of the nice things about this area is, you know, it's not too busy. It's summertime right now. It's summer vacation. The kids are all out of school. So even though it's a Wednesday, this place should be busy with tourists. Not a lot of tourists. I mean, there's people on the road, but it's not jam-packed. A lot of places in China are just jam-packed during the holidays. And this place isn't, which is nice. I'm sure it's packed during the holidays, but, you know, it's not insane, which is good because that really ruins a scenic area when there's like 500 people trying to take the same picture that you're trying to take. So it's one of the slightly annoying things sometimes about traveling in China during the peak tourist season at certain places. But anyway, yeah, quite beautiful, quite stunning. I got a glimpse of some snow-capped mountains in the distance. I didn't take a picture of them just because they're just too far away to look good in the picture, but they're there. You can trust me on that. So, yeah. Well, I lied. It turns out there's some snow-capped peaks that you can see. Seeing some interesting weather coming in too. It's a beautiful day. It's warm, but not too hot. It's sunny. The weather here is just amazing. If you can look behind, you should see this sort of interesting cloud formation. That's definitely a storm. It's definitely rain. That's on the south side of the lake. Remember, on the north side, earlier we had some weather come through. Looks like I'm in for some more weather in a little while. So it should be interesting. Let me throw in some nice pictures of those snow-capped mountains for you. Well, I've decided against Bird Island. It's 16 kilometers one way out of my way down this road, which will take me down to the edge of the lake. I'm sure it's really beautiful. If I had more time, I'd do it. But the actual bird nesting season that it's all about is over, so I might not see anything too interesting. And it's 32 kilometers out of my way. And besides, you know, there's a doggy crossing the road. Like, we're good. We're good. We've seen it. So yeah. So I think we'll say no to Bird Island, and we'll continue on down the west side. Hold on, that doggy's going back across the road now. Oh boy. So yeah, I guess not. I guess we'll just we'll head on. Next time I come to Qinghai Lake, we'll do Bird Island. Donkey. Donkeys taste good, by the way. So one of the things that I think there's two things that people think of when they think of China. The first thing is huge population, right? So there's no space for you to be by yourself in China because there's so many people everywhere. And you know, that's to a great extent accurate. There's a lot of people in cities, um, and you know, even in small towns. The other thing people tend to think about with China is a horrible environment, really bad pollution. So those sort of two ideas, a lot of people that I talk to tend to have this impression of China as like overcrowded and dirty. Well, you know, that's not the whole truth. Now, China is a country of 1.4 billion people, but most of them live in a very small area of the country. Maybe I can show you a population map if I. And as promised, the population density map of China. You can see Xining right in the center of the map where the orange sort of cuts off. And then, of course, I'm in Qinghai Lake, which is right next to that. So the population density in the Qinghai area is between 1 and 10 people per square kilometer. The palest areas are between 0 and 1 person per square kilometer. So where I live is just south of Xining there in the dark, in the blue and the red. In Chengdu, Chongqing corridor, you're looking at over 400 people per square kilometer. So that's dense. But again, very, very different population story from what you may think. Feel like in a density map. But out here in Qinghai province and around this lake, the population density is tiny. You know, there's these tiny little villages that I'm driving through. There's just miles and miles of open grassland, mountains. You know, just flying here from Chengdu, it's about an hour and a half flight, and the plane never really gets up high. And so, you know, on a clear day, the whole way I got to see the landscape. There's nothing. It's just open land. China as a country is as big as the United States, and it has a very similar population density story as the United States in the sense that the bulk of the population of the United States lives on the east and the west coast, and then the sort of the middle of the country is very low population density. China's population density is along the coastline and along the Yangtze and Yellow rivers, and then out west, there are places where there is zero population density, 0 people per square kilometer, for huge tracts of land. And that area is not far from here. If you head up along the Tibetan Plateau and then northwest into Xinjiang, there's no people. So and you know, it's a beautiful. I just saw what I think is a golden eagle. I mean, I don't know. Do you think that's a golden eagle? Maybe it is. I'm watching a little baby rabbit cross the road as I'm talking to you right now. There is a lot of wildlife, a lot of animals, a lot of areas that are not horribly polluted. So that is a misinterpretation of what China is today. But that other piece is true. There are places that are just horribly congested with people and that are extremely polluted. But here, Qinghai is not one of them. It's a really natural landscape, really beautiful. I won't call it pristine, although if I were to hike up into those mountains, I can see in the distance it would be pretty pristine. But yeah, so don't believe everything you read. So it just turned out to be some local folks from the neighboring village who came down to this creek to do some fishing, I think, after a recent rainstorm. So it's kind of neat to just watch them having fun in the water and catching some fish. I'm pretty proud of myself. I just saw a sign in Chinese, 3 characters, Hei Ma He, and I know what it means. Black Horse River, that way, Black Horse River. Hey, Black Ma Horse He River. So, anyway, just thought I'd tell you. And it's just Chinese. I figured it out. Hey! Fucking bird! So there's this bird that it's very cool looking. It's white and brown. I mean, I'm a real bird person, so I've got a bird field guide and everything. And he keeps flying across the road right in front of my car, and then I'll see him on the side of the road. I'll pull over to try to get a picture, and he's gone. Better identify this bird. It's gonna plague me. I'm gonna get some good pictures of it instead of these shitty pictures that I have of it. There's another one right there. Gone. Gone. Yeah. Take a look at that view behind me. That is something else. Just absolutely beautiful with the blue sky. And then, you know, I'm just gonna do a panoramic here. Got this little, I can't really see if I'm even in frame. Then look behind me on the road there, you know, these Tibetan Buddhist flags up there. Just came through the mountain pass. But really just absolutely stunning to look at. You can see the blue lake in the middle in the distance there. I think, and I'm just going to verify this, but I think Qing in this context means blue. So I think Qinghai Lake actually just means blue lake. One of the cool things about Chinese is it tends to be simple like that. Yeah, beautiful sunny day, just an open flat. I assume this is the river, the floodplain of Qinghai. So yeah, just beautiful vistas here all around me. So I'll take some nice shots of that, hopefully with the camera, and we'll see what we get. A lot of people biking around the lake. You can see these people behind me on their bikes. It looks like you can probably rent a bike and just bike the whole lake on a mountain bike, which would be pretty cool. Really just lucking out when it comes to the weather. The lake, as you can see, is just stunningly blue. And you know what? I'm going to interrupt this video because that bird is right here. He's right here, right in front of me. The one I've been looking at. Wait a minute. So this is the really crappy picture I took of the bird. You probably can't even see the bird in this picture because it's so crappy that I took with my phone. Saw this bird, as I said, everywhere, and I definitely wanted to get a good solid ID. It turns out, though, I actually did take a really good picture of it, as you can see right here. So this bird is called a crested lark. And my field guide even lists the crested lark having a subrace called the Magna race, which lives in Qinghai. So this is actually that bird. Yeah, I finally got him. Finally. Got good pictures. Gonna have a clear ID. I've seen today, speaking of birds, to get off topic, you're just enjoying this beautiful view behind me, but I saw 3 golden eagles. First one I saw, I didn't think, I said, no, it's a vulture on a line. I took some pictures of it. And then saw something flying, and I thought, that's a big, I've seen a lot of raptors. That's a big raptor right there. And then I saw one flying over a field, and I looked up, and I saw the white wing bars that I believe, if memory serves, mark a golden eagle. Biggest freaking bird I've ever seen in my life. Really, just amazing. So anyway, you're listening to me babble, but I'm sure you're also looking at the Look at the lake behind me. It's just beautiful. So some more like little hotels you can stay in here. They're all over the place. Yeah, just cool stuff. So I'll do the 360 pan for you. All right, that's it. I'm gonna get on the road again. See what else there is down this road. It's about 4 o'clock now. I'm on the south side of the river, about an hour away from my hotel. This part is not quite as stunning as what I saw on the west side, but it's still quite beautiful. The lake itself is all the area around the lake is wildlife sort of preservation. So, but that area in particular, that west side, was just sort of just beautiful. This is a little like rockier. I've got the mountains on my right. The lake still looks beautiful, but a little further away from it now. So I'll see if there's any nice views between here and where we're spending the night, which should actually be quite beautiful. One of the things that's interesting about China, and I say this in a lot of my videos about China, is that, close my window there, China's in a lot of ways a new country. And Mao talked about the new China, which was established in 1949. And in a lot of ways, China was reestablished in the late 1970s, early 1980s, late 70s, as it came out of the very damaging Cultural Revolution of the late 60s and 70s. And under Deng Xiaoping, started to become a first-class country again. And so in a lot of ways, China's a 30 to 40-year-old country, and as a result, they're just starting to figure out how to do things like tourism. Suddenly there is this thing in China called the middle class, which China never had before, and there's these people with money to burn, something that we're all used to in America. Think of America in the 1950s, and mom and dad and the kids jumping in the station wagon and going out into the countryside. Before the 1950s in America, that didn't exist. You didn't take vacations. Nobody did that except for very rich people, and they went to very specific places. But the idea of roadside attractions and the idea of like going out into the countryside and just seeing what's out there, that happened for America in the 1950s, which was 70 years ago almost. And for China, it's only happened in the last 10 years. And so there's this whole, like, for example, that's the road that I'm driving on. If you'd come here 10 years ago, there's no tourism here. These people were milking their yaks and their cows and riding their horses and living their lives. And now suddenly all these people from all over China are coming here in droves. Can't blame them for setting up these little hotels in tents and offering people horse rides for 50 kwai and doing all this sorts of stuff, because the people are coming. The government is interested in promoting that tourism because it brings wealth to these areas, it brings money to these areas, and so they're building the new roads and the rest areas, and you see all this stuff that was familiar to us as Americans. When you find a very beautiful place, you try to bring people in and hopefully they don't ruin it by visiting and leaving their shit all over the place. On the other hand, it brings money to the local economy that would otherwise be really starving, because what are these people going to do here other than shave their sheep, milk their cows, and there's not much else for them to do. Grow a little bit of food here, at 2,500 meters. So It's interesting for me as a amateur anthropologist and as a historian to sort of see this country, in a sense, being reborn to this sort of middle class aesthetic. It's very interesting stuff. Anyway, it's my thought for the southern side of Qinghai Lake. So the next day, my wife and I went to the pier, the area we were staying, and we found what in Chinese is called Ren Shan Ren Hai, which means people mountain, people sea. Sea of people is a mountain of people. Very common in China. And we talked a little bit about, you know, how this does sort of mar the beauty of the place. And you know, my wife was enjoying taking pictures of these older folks, people in their 50s, you know, just taking these ridiculous pictures of themselves. It seems very funny. It's very cute. It's very different from sort of how Westerners often vacation. But in you know, she did say, you know, that these people had a very hard life growing up, and so now they're almost like little children, in the sense that they come to these places and sort of don't realize. I don't think that they think about the destruction of the sort of the natural beauty or the enjoyment of this natural beauty. They're really having a good time, as you can see in these pictures, and it's really cute and funny for younger Chinese people to watch these, you know, their aunties and uncles behave in this way. You know, one of the things my wife said is that the part of the beauty of China is its people, but at the same time, I think she recognizes that this is sort of less beautiful and natural than it should be, and this maybe isn't the best way to enjoy these locations. So I thought I would just add that little commentary in here from her. She asked me to add that into the video, just so you understand why people do this.
因为我也是，就是最近才知道斯柯达中有这个，不知道。或者你也可以，比如说提一些意见一下呀，这种。
This is the tourism piece that I spoke about yesterday. At the hotel, little resort area we stayed at, you know, the natural beauty somewhat diminished by the hundreds of people taking pictures. But such is life here. The good news is that you can find places here at Qinghai that are really private and quiet. You don't have to come to a place like this to visit here. All right, well, I've reached close to my final destination on the trip. You can see this is the south side of the lake, and actually looking straight across about where I am, about around there someplace. You can see the desert kind of piece of the of the lake. That's where I started out. Kind of shot my first pictures of the lake. So I've made it all the way around, and it's about 5:15, and got to the lake around 10 o'clock. So spent the whole day driving around. It's a little 360 again, all the way around. So pretty beautiful place. On the south side here, there's a lot of honeybees and people making honey. But I felt really guilty because they're all right by the side of the road here, like where I am. And so of course, as all the cars are driving, they're just like hitting bees over and over again. Like you just hear the bees hitting the cars, the bee massacre. But I'd like to buy some of that honey maybe today, try it out, because there's a hell of a lot of it on the road here. So the next morning we did just that. We stopped at one of the honey places and learned a little bit about the folks who produce the honey. So it looks like these folks basically live here seasonally, keep the bees. You know, I asked if they're seeing the same problem here with the massive bee die-off. And it took me a while, even with my wife translating, to make it clear. She was like, no, these are domesticated bees. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they don't die. And I'm like, yeah, but the domesticated bees in Europe and America are dying. But out here in Qinghai, it hasn't happened yet. So these are the beehives. I passed about 150 of these little houses on my trip down the road yesterday. So, you know, this is a family lives here. Well, you know, at least during the day. Looks like a mother and son live in here. I'm sure they have a farm somewhere else or a house somewhere else, but so we bought some honey. Cost us 120, 对. So it cost us 120 kwai, which is about I can't do the math anymore. Almost $20. It's maybe about $18 for 2 kilos, so not too bad.
为此，如果你要托运的话，他不是我帮你托运，就是说，如果托运你1公斤，他是不知道1公斤还是3公斤，1公斤多点，他算2公斤这样子，你不划算吗？
So some honey in Qinghai.
他不怕啊，他不怕，他不怕，哎，就是没看。
So my trip's over. Here's our hotel room. It's a little mobile home park. Kind of cool. There's my wife back from her trip. Say hi.
Hi.
And we just had a nice thunderstorm, or a nice rainstorm come through over the lake. It's gotten really, really cold. You know, it was in the 70s today, but with sun beating on you, it felt a lot warmer. But now it's down into the 50s with a wind. Had to put a sweatshirt on. So yeah, it's quite chilly. So we're staying in a kind of a resort area next to the lake on the south side. A lot of hotels, cruise ships here too. Nice sunset. So yeah, journey's over. So on my journeys yesterday, I didn't really actually get to the lake itself. So this morning, after staying in our hotel, came out here and we have the lake itself. Hey!
Hi.
So we made it down to the water. There's a bit of a beach, not much of a beach, but yeah, so Qinghai Lake. Alright, so this will be my final video entry for this this video. We're up here in the northeast region again of Qinghai Lake. I didn't get to this area on my first day, but about 10 kilometers up the road is where I started in my first view of the lake. We're up here in the desert region, as you can see. For whatever reason, this part of the lake, this corner of the lake, is covered in scrub and desert. Pretty cool. Again, the very different environments that you find on every section of the lake. This part has been turned into a bit of an amusement park. You can't see it. I'll show you on the other side. It's a little bit of a, you can dune buggy and all this other fun stuff here, slide down the sand dunes, yada, yada, yada. But the lake's there behind me on that side. So it's been fun. Thanks for joining me on this little trip around Qinghai Lake. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos, which I'll be putting right around up there, and you can subscribe over there. Thanks again. Goodbye from Qinghai.